Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and our today's topic is on attitude and making a shift in it at times whenever we need to. So I'll share the screen and begin to look at. Attitude adjustment has been an ongoing theme with me. Starting whenever I was a child, and my mother was frequently giving me an attitude adjustment. And so I came up or found this topic or this quote from Mike Murphy, who said, "Do you want a short-term fix or a long-term solution?" And I want a long-term solution, that the attitude would always be within a good, healthy spectrum. And so we're looking at how we connect and disconnect. I had some other thoughts on thinking about attitude, and it's our thoughts that, pretty much indicate our attitude. So anyway, old Rene Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." I mean, I think all kinds of thoughts, and they're just images and all that when he was wanting to know, who are you? And so then I began to think about this, that sometimes we think, well, I don't think, or when working with the people that can be difficult to work with, if they don't think, therefore I become what or who others tell me I am. Also, if I don't think, therefore I go with the flow and get into trouble. And if I don't think, then therefore I am not. So it really propels the person into a low esteem. I'm just not enough. Well, we are enough. We always are. And as Mike Dooley says, thoughts become things, and they become, everything is created twice, first in the mind and then in reality. And it behooves us to think about what we think about. So looking at the fact that the sun shines every day, whether it's shiny or not, the sun shines. It's always shining. And it's always shining. It may not be sunny, it may not be warm, but it's always shining. And that there are some things that's about the laws and nature that just are. Well, in choice theory is a counseling method in using choices and self-reflection. And those choices and those self-reflections can sometimes seem a little odd when you begin to look at your attitude and so forth, and you got in trouble because of having a negative attitude, and then stop and ask yourself or ask the other person, could you have done worse? Could you have had a more sour attitude? Most of us can answer that, yeah, I really could have. Well, could you have done better? Could you have been a little kinder? And again, most of us, when we get honest with ourselves, the answer is yes. And then asking ourselves the question, are you willing to do better? And then coming up with a plan. What is one step? What is one step that you could take that would lead to doing things better? And whatever it is that we consciously focus on, we become like it. And by consciously, I mean deliberately, on purpose, thoughtfully, carefully, unhurriedly, measurably, and constantly reflecting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, here's a little science lesson from 101, way back when. Everything, here's the atom as a whole, and everything inside this nucleus right here has little atoms, and they're charged, and they are charged either positively or neutral. And then surrounding the nucleus that's inside the atom, surrounding it, there are these little clouds of well, just little clouds, and they are negatively charged. And everything swirls around the atom. And so we look at our core human nature, because everything in the world is made up of atoms. I am, you are, everything is. So everything's made up of atoms, and it's energy. Anyway, everything that swirls around the nucleus there is negative. And sometimes, you know, our core human nature, I mean, just think of babies, how that they have it's either a kind of a positive or a neutral, until we get caught up in the negative swirl of life. And then we can become very negative. Negatively charged electrons affect the structure of things. And science is always discovering new mysteries about the atom, including an atom can be in two spaces at one time, and including the fact that as atoms are observed, they change. And as we are observed, I think so too, the same thing with attitude. As we observe our attitude, we are in a position to change it. And I think we can do that by looking from inside, deep down inside who we are and what our thoughts and feelings are. Insight is a mysterious function making a huge difference in the way we view life. Insight can transform the negative to neutral or positive. Insight, once we can see a little, have more of a wiggle room, gives meaning and purpose in the midst of the negative swirl of life. And of course, that brings us to the connecting habits or disconnecting habits. Dr. Glasser isolated 7 habits that we fall into that really affects our attitudes, and just be aware of them, just knowing about them. And then whenever you become critical, say, oh, wait a minute, I am criticizing and I don't want to do that. Although sometimes it is critical to have some critical input. That criticizing, blaming, complaining, nagging, threatening, punishing, and bribing or resorting to control can have such a pushback on the people that we interact with. Whereas if we switch over and begin the 7 caring habits, which comes from internal control, these other habits is us trying to outwardly do something to someone else. Whereas when we go with the caring habits or the connecting habits, it is because it's something inside that is saying we're family, we're co-workers, we're neighbors, we all belong here, we all matter. And so it's supporting and encouraging and listening and accepting and trusting, respecting and negotiating those differences that do occur. Dr. Glasser said, is it what we do? Is it pushing people away from us, or is it drawing them to us? Whether that is people or business or whatever. So here are 6 personal adjustments that I have made and continually am aware of and want to always improve. One was the day it dawned on me that I was not as unhappy as I thought I was. As I began to look at the fact that, and I suggest that we as individuals are more alike than we're different. And so you are probably not as unhappy as you might think you are. Alert, alert. You are in charge of your own happiness. Trying to parlay your happiness to others is futile. It is it's expecting someone else to make you happy. And it is, they can contribute to your happiness. They can contribute to your unhappiness. Others definitely do contribute to us, but they are not the ones that are responsible for our happiness. It's done through finding inner joy, even in the midst of difficult circumstances. So I had this little song. I was driving the car one day in a good mood and was singing right along with the radio. Was the CDs what it was. Wasn't even paying attention to it. I want to be happy, but I won't be happy till I make you happy too. And all of a sudden, I stopped myself and I said, "What's going on? No, 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 no." In fact, I punched the CD out of the player and I put it over in the seat. And I thought, no, trying to make someone happy or happy, is a sure way for failure and for unhappiness, because it's a do-it-yourself job. And so in learning that I was not as unhappy as I thought I might be, and in learning that no one else can make me happy, it's all about choices. But then it also helped me to know that it's not up to me to work someone else out of a snit. If they're unhappy, if they're in a mood, if they're, it's not up to me to fix anyone else. We can definitely contribute to, or we can in a way that's positive or negative, but learning to be more in the a good adjustment. So hand in hand with not being as unhappy as I thought, I began to realize that not all of my needs have gone unmet. Have some, yeah. And does that take away from having an attitude that is pleasant? From the day of my birth until this present moment, I have been surrounded by love, whether I knew it or not. I have been nurtured and cared for. We, from childhood on through today, have had adequate, actually even more than adequate, food and shelter and protection and supplies and money and a lot of things. I mean, just a lot of stuff that we even mistake as the necessities of life. How about you? Are your needs as unmet as your down days sometimes project? And then all we can ever give or receive is information. But it's receiving information at face value without constructing hidden agendas behind it. And it is only giving information that is truthful, respectful, and for the good of all. Point number 4, it's okay to not know. And maybe not having a good attitude, if you think, well, I don't know, that it would seem to put you in an inferior position. But it's not necessarily so, especially as we really know who we are and are okay with that. We are finite individuals and the scope of information is unfathomable. The more we learn about humanity and technology and space and minerals and bacteria and on and on and on about the things, the greater that knowledge disparity grows. And so over and above what we know, there's the expanse of our imagination to kind of fill things in. So it's okay to not know, but always be a learner in the process. So number 5, choose to not be offended by disagreements. In any given exchange, all that one person can bring to the table is everything we have experienced from day one. It is the totality of our life experiences. Are there UFOs? What about life after death? How did they build those pyramids? All of these things are topics of discussion. Some believe, some disbelieve, but the thing of it is, there are too many variables, real or imagined, to be upset by someone's slant on the subject. Regardless of the view taken, the worth and value of the individual human being is neither diminished nor is it added to. Whether it's the smartest person in the room or the dumbest person in the room, it doesn't take away the worth and value of who we are as individuals. And the thing of it is that whenever one is right, that's all you get to be, is right. You don't get to be superior. And when one is wrong, as wrong might be labeled, being wrong does not make one inferior. It makes one incorrect and need for more information. And as we can begin to just embrace that we're all those things. And then always, always be open to the mystery of life. In childhood, wonder shifts. And everything you look at it is a wonder. And it's, oh, wow, this is great. Well, epiphany is being open to the mystery of life. That what journey is this taking me on? What am I learning from this? And so in the laws of nature, gravity is the force that holds us to planet Earth. And it also makes it difficult for us to jump up. It makes it, and it is that gravity that keeps us from moving rapidly through water. That it takes lift and thrust to overcome the pull and drag of nature. That pull and drag, that lift and thrust, has triumphed in aviation. And I suggest that it's possible for it to triumph in our thinking also. Think about what you think about. And then start by self-evaluating. Will the comment that I am making, the actions I am using, the attitudes I'm having, are they respectful? And realizing that small shifts matter. And as we begin to see when there's an attitude adjustment needed and how to go about it, and to own the responsibility that we are responsible for our own lives, and we're actually responsible for, to a very large degree, as to how others interact with us. So thank you for being here, and hopefully it gave you some food for thought, and have a great week and many blessings.